Welcome to Season 3 of the Ascent Podcast, a show about inspiring people who explain their path to achievement. I'm your host, Joe Burgess, Wealth Advisor at Moxie Wealth Management. It's good to be back to preview Season 3 of the Ascent. I must admit, this is a little more delayed than I had anticipated. Unfortunately, my father, Denny Burgess, died unexpectedly a little while back and delayed our production and release of this season's episodes. However, I'm going to sound a little like The Bachelor when I say this is our most anticipated season yet. The lineup of guests is top-notch. We have a CEO of a global market research firm, a recently retired member of the corporate leadership team at Cargill, general counsel from our beloved Minnesota Vikings, and much, much more. I did mention at the top of my father passing, we're in the process of organizing a tribute podcast on his behalf. He was quite a successful business owner in his own right, and there'll be plenty of heartwarming stories to tell in order for us to highlight his life and his professional career. Now, to give you a little taste of what we have on tap for Season 3, we talked to Karen Schoenbart, CEO of a New York-based global market research firm. Karen wrote a book called Mom BA, which is kind of a guide to being successful in business. The imposter syndrome is a topic that's come up with a number of executives we've interviewed. Here are her thoughts on working through that.
Start a fan file. Start a list of accomplishments, and every time your boss, your client compliments you or you do a project you're particularly proud of, put it in your fan file. I was telling a young woman about this recently, and she goes, "Oh, I have one of those. I call it my Yay Me file." And that's great. If you're feeling down, you can look at it, or if you are up for a promotion or you want to go for another job in a different area, you can kind of use your fan file to build your case.
And she went on to provide a few more tips.
The other one is to not compare yourself to others, and I know that's really hard to do, but it leads right into the third one, which is to figure out what you are uniquely good at and focus on your strengths. And I love this one because if you can find a job where you can focus on your strengths and really hone that, you'll typically do what you love, you'll love what you do. And the example I've been using lately about this one is, and certainly we should work on our weaknesses, but too many people talk about working on the weaknesses all the time and not the strengths. So I'll give you an example. I'm a tennis player. I took up tennis as an adult, and I love it. And my backhand's my weakness. Now, it can't be terrible. It can't be like you can hit to my backhand all day long and kill me. It's got to be adequate. But this summer, I took tennis lessons, and I focused all the lessons on my forehand. I have a pretty good cross-court deep shot.
Okay.
But that was like my main shot. And all summer I worked on a down-the-line shot. I worked on a drop shot. I worked on an angle shot. And I just continued to hone my strength. And you know what? I won a lot more games, and it was fun. And I'm not saying I shouldn't work on my backhand,
right.
But, if somebody can figure out what's their forehand in their job, what's the thing that they can be known for, what's their strength, and you think about it, famous people, athletes, typically have something that makes them better than other people. And so if you could focus on your strength in your job, it's more fun, and I think that really can help also with the imposter syndrome.
We went on to discuss the idea of mentors and sponsors. Karen talked about overcoming the stigma associated with older men sponsoring younger females.
Well, this worries me quite a bit, Joe. This is one of the things that I'm a little concerned about in today's world. Clearly, right now, the facts are that there are way more men in leadership, in upper top leadership than women. It's just a fact, and it is getting better over time, and I hope it will continue to get better with time. But I think it was last year, there were almost as many men named John in the Fortune 500 as there were women.
Right.
And I do believe that it's senior people who you need to be those sponsors. Helping women is fantastic, and we should totally be doing that. And I do that, and other people should do that, and there's many, many ways to do that. But if the women don't have men as sponsors, they will be at a disadvantage. And now, of course, there's hypersensitivity around all of this, so we've just got to figure out strategies for continuing to make that successful. And maybe it's that men are mentoring and getting together with small groups of women instead of one-on-one. And these are things that I think that we as leaders have to help work our way through. There are way, way, way more good men in the world and men who are willing to help and sponsor women than there are bad apples. But let's not lose sight of the fact that there's still many, many men who are very happy to help women, and we just have to figure out how to get past this uncomfortable place that we're at right now.
Next up, we have Todd Hall. Todd was an executive vice president at Cargill prior to retiring in the spring of 2019. We talked about the evolution of his career. Considering he was one promotion away from being the CEO, I asked if it was always on his radar to climb the corporate ladder and run the organization.
I had a goal, but it wasn't to be CEO or even the position that I ended up, as executive vice president. When I took the job with Cargill out of college, it was a general management training program, and the general manager of our local businesses in animal nutrition would have been called a district general manager. So they ran a region within this division.
Of course, he ended up quite a bit higher than district general manager.
By the time I ended at Cargill, that was like 5 to 6 jobs below where I ended up at. And so everyone after that was like, I used to say everyone after that is like gravy. But the reality was everyone after that was, okay, I'll do it, but I really like running the business.
Got it. We also discussed ego as it related to promotions.
Usually the people who really want the job, who want it really badly, they're not the best people for the job because they want it for the wrong reason. It's the people who, feel the awesome sense of responsibility that they now have on their shoulders and the team they're leading and everything else that you want running it because they're the ones that are going to give it the most care and concern and study and work night and day to be sure that it's a success or that it grows for all the right reasons.
Todd talked about being effective as a leader. In his view, the most important decisions he ever made were determining which people to have on his team. I asked if he ever had any misfires.
I had a mid-year review with a manager that reported to me once where I simply said, actually I had written on a piece of paper and I pushed it across the table and I said, you need to read this. And it said, I don't trust you.
Wow.
That was the extent of the mid-year review, of what I wrote on the mid-year review. And then we had a 2-hour conversation about why I didn't trust him.
While that style might have seemed a little harsh, Todd further explained why he chose that method.
If I didn't care about the success or that person making it, I wouldn't have wasted my time to have that review, right? That's a kind of an expensive way to have it, right? There's a lot of potential ramifications for a boss telling an employee they don't trust them.
Lots of wisdom to be had on that episode. You can hear Karen, Todd, and many others as Season 3 of the Ascent Podcast goes live on April 4th, 2020. We're grateful for all the support. Hopefully the insight from these podcasts help you along your path to achievement.